Welcome to Growing in Vine Ministries, everybody, where we teach people how to grow, change, and produce in everyday life. And so I'll just give you all the titles right here. This is what I'm going to talk to you guys today about. Find you. Find you. And after I go over this, and hopefully y'all can understand this, so if you already think that you found you, good. we're in a way better spot if you think you already found yourself. But as we go through this, you'll see in the story that I'm going to use here that it's usually a couple of things that you go through in order to find yourself. But finding you is going to be one of the hardest things you ever do in life. I'm just going to admit that to you guys, because finding you is tough, because finding you is based on how you were raised, because your parents have something to do with that. Because, you know, if your parents want you to be a doctor and they think you should be a doctor, they probably push you towards that. But that might not be your lane. You know, you never know. You might be Alicia Keys or Jay-Z. So you might be a music person. I don't know. Or you might be Chandler Moore, Maverick City Music. So, you know, you have to base that off of you. And then also, finding you is tough sometimes because of what society thinks that you should be. See, so when you see some of the things that you see on TV about certain people, I won't say a certain demographic or anything like that, but it's like, man, society kind of will push you in a certain direction also of what you think that you should be. Because sometimes when people have been pushed so much by society, they almost give up. And they say, oh man, well, this is what I am, because this is what everybody's told me I am, so this is what I'm going to be. And that's what we do sometimes with that. And then also, it's just based on your experiences. Man, some of us have just had some downright bad experiences. And you be like, man, this is just life. This is what it's going to be. God doesn't care for me. If not, I wouldn't keep having these same experiences that I'm having. So that's part of finding you. But finding you is going to be hard if you haven't, but it's doable. If you look at this, and I'm going to show you, and it's one key ingredient to actually finding yourself, and I'm going to show you in the scripture here. But we're coming out of Luke 15 and 11. And this is the story about the prodigal son. And hopefully y'all can see this in here. And it'll be really good that what you see and what I'll show you in this, because I noticed this myself as I was looking over this. But this is where we'll start at verse 11 here. It says, a certain man had two sons. And the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the portion of good that falls to me. So he's a good father. He said, all right. So he divided to them his livelihood. And look at this. And not many days after, the youngster gathered all together, journeyed to a far country, and wasted his possessions with prodigal living. So not much after that, man. Isn't that can happen to almost anybody, man. You don't have nothing, and then one day you get something, you say, boy, I made it. Oh boy. He say, man, I'm out of here, Dad. I don't need you no more. I'm gonna go live my own life now, because man, hey, I got the bag. I'm out. And in that point too, that's the way some of us treat God. That's the way we treat God, man. We come and we say, oh Lord, yeah. Hey man, I need you right now, Lord. But boy, good things start to happen. All right, see you later, Lord. I'm out of here. Yeah, it's been good. It's been a good ride while I lasted, but I'm going to go do some other things now. I need to go try something else now, because it's been smooth sailing for me. Now I got some money to go with my smooth sailing, so let's see what I can do. So prodigal living, man, is just wasteful living, bad living, pretty much. It's just bad living. When you're living the prodigal way, you're wasteful. You're not doing the things that you're supposed to do. But look at what happened to him. But when he had spent all, there arose a severe famine in the land. And isn't that the way it happens? Once you ain't got nothing else, something bad happens. You say, man, I'm down on my last dime. Now my car breaks. And then you start thinking, man, I shouldn't have bought those shoes the other day. If I wouldn't have bought them, I might have had a little something to help out with this. You know, you might have wasted on something, because I don't know if it ever happened to you guys, but you be at the point, you be like, man, I know I shouldn't be spending my money on this. I don't know if y'all ever feel that way. You be like, nah, I shouldn't buy that. And then when you buy it, then something goes wrong on the other side sometimes. I remember, man, we were so broke, man. We were living in an apartment and we were broke. Our daughter was actually, we put her crib in the kitchen area. We had one bedroom apartment, we put it in the kitchen area. And my dad remembers this, so she's in the kitchen area. And it was just a rough way of living, but every time my birthday would come around, I would run and put money in the bank. I would get birthday money. I said, man, I'm going to put this in the bank. I said, you going to put your money in the bank? I said, yeah. I'm thinking we need it. Yeah, we need it. We need it in the bank. Do you think she did the same thing with her money? Prodigal living. She would get some money, and I'd be like, man, I know she's gonna put that in the bank. She's seeing this good example that I'm setting. Next thing you know, a bag or something show up at the house. I'm like, man, we sure could have used that money. but it seemed like when in those days, something would always go wrong too, man. You broke. It says money answers all things, but for some reason, money couldn't answer none of these things because it weren't none. You're like, hey, man, But that's what happens, man. And then this guy began to be in want. See, man, he spent all his money on this crazy living. Now a famine breaks out. And now he's in want. So let's see what he did. But this guy is actually a smart guy. I actually like that. People give the prodigal son a hard time. But he's actually a really smart guy. And I'm going to show you guys why. And look at this here. And then look what he said. Then he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country. So he said, man, I'm not just going to sit idly by and go get on welfare. He said, I'm going to go join myself to somebody and do a little work. So that's a beautiful thing. And he sent him into the fields to feed swine. So he said, man, not only I need some money, but I got the bad job, man. I got to go deal with the pigs. So, it wasn't much pride left there. It wasn't. If you're going to go feed the pigs, most people, man, I ain't taking that job. I'm going to sit here and wait till something good comes. But if you ever notice, if you have a job, it's easier to get a job. I don't know why it works like that, but it just seems like, man, if you got a job, it's easier to get a job. When you ain't got no job, it's a rough one sometimes. But he took what job he could. He went to go feed the swine. And then on verse 16, and he said, and he would gladly have filled his stomach with the pods that the swine ate. And no one gave him anything. Didn't get nothing. So, man, imagine you spent all your money, you were living a good life, and now you're hungry, and nobody won't even give you what the pigs are eating. You can't even have none. That's a rough way. And look what verse 17 is. And this is where he finds himself right here. This is where he finds himself. And he says, but when he came to himself, that's that aha moment that everybody has to get to. You have to get to this spot in life to be like, man, where am I at? Assess your situation and say, man, I can't keep going on like this. Something has to change here. Something has changed because he came to himself here. And he said, how many of my father's hired servants have bread enough and to spare? So his father's servants are getting treated good. They got more than enough is what he's saying. And he's saying, and I perish with hunger? Oh, he found himself. These hard times found himself. But he wasn't lazy. He said, man, I'm going to provide. He went to go do some work. But he said, man, I perish with hunger. And I'm looking that my father has good things for me. And I'm living out here with the pigs. Crazy. It's crazy. And so look here, verse 18 through 21. And look what he says here. And he says, I will arise, go to my father, and say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. See, that's why I like this guy, because he's willing to admit that he was wrong. Most people wouldn't have did it. Most people wouldn't have did it. They'd be like, well, Dad, it was because you did this and, you used to treat him good. So I felt I needed to go make my own path and all this other stuff. But he's willing to admit that he messed up. He messed up. It wasn't everybody else. It wasn't the world that did this to you. And I always told myself this, and sometimes people, they say, man, well, I had bad parents. He said, good, even better. So you know what not to do. If you have bad parents, you know what not to do. Because you saw a bad example, do the opposite of what they did, and you can make it. It just makes sense to me. Because at a certain point in your life, you can't keep blaming everybody else for your problems and your issues. And he was willing to step up to the plate and said, I messed this thing up. I had money in this hand, and I wanted to get rid of everything I had. And look what verse 19 says. And it says, and this is what he's saying to himself. See, he found himself, and he's out here doing whatever, but he hasn't even talked to his dad yet. And he says, I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants. I'm willing to come work for you. I'm not even worthy to be your son no more. Whatever you want me to do, I do. That's humbleness. That's falling on your sword. That's doing whatever needs to be done to make amends for what he's done. See, and the reason why, let me just keep going. I'm going to tell y'all that in a second. And it says, and he arose, came to his father, but he was still a great way off, and his father saw him and had compassion and ran and fell on his neck and kissed him. So his father is also an upstanding citizen, because he didn't come to him and say, hey man, look, if you'd have did like I told you to do, none of this would have happened. That's what we would have did. That's probably what I'd have told my daughter. See, I was like, look, I told you this was going to happen. I told you if you was going to do this, it was going to happen to you. But he didn't. He had compassion still on his son. So we can glean from this, man. If you're any type of parent, you can look at this and say, man, this is a great example of what a father should look like. And mothers can do this also. They usually just use the more dominant tense when they speak about the word. But yeah, women could do this also and not hold this against what you saw. And then his son did. His son said to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and in your sight, and no longer worthy to be called your son. And this happens all the time. This happens all the time in life, man. We mess things up, and then we don't want to fix things up. See, we'll mess it up, and then we'll be like, all right, that's the reason, that's the reason, that's the reason. But they both were at a great spot to say, hey, man, I forgive you anyway for what you did. If you'd have been here with me, man, you'd have been blessed here. But I gave you what you wanted. You thought you wanted this, so you got to experience life. So you actually got to find yourself. So now this really puts the guy in a better position. He can be a better son now because he actually experienced the world and he knows that it's brutal. He got to see, man, it's messed up out here. So I need the covering of my father. And so that's what's so special about this story. This is God. This is each and every one of us. This is God in this saying, look, man, all y'all have been in this world before, and I accepted you back with no strings attached. See, you chose this path. You chose to be out here and live this type of lifestyle, but I'm not holding it against you. But come on in and you can be grafted back into the family. I'm not worried about nothing. What he said, man, your sins are far as the east is from the west. I'm going to remember them no more. See, the only person that brings their sin up is you. If my wife truly asks for forgiveness and I keep bringing it up, I'm a terrible person because she truly asked for forgiveness. And that's the way this is. Man, he came to his father and he truly asked for forgiveness and was humble about this situation. So we have to forgive. We have to do that. And so look at what his father did. I'm going to show you and then we're done after this. Look what his father did. But his father said to his servants, bring out the best robe and put it on him. Bring out the best robe and put it on him. It says, put a ring on his hand and sandals on his feet. He's saying, look, man, I'm giving him the best. See, I'm not withholding no good thing from you. I'm going to give you the best. Even though you're unworthy of this, even though you don't really deserve this, you're my son. You're my son. And that's us. We're his children. And he wants to give us the best. All we have to do is come to our senses and say, all right, Lord, I need you. All right, Lord, I want more of you. All right, Lord, take these things away from me because I got to truly find myself. It's not everybody else. It's me, God. It's me standing in the need of prayer. It ain't everybody else. It's me standing in the need of prayer. I'm not going to talk about what everybody else did, because when everybody else is in the judgment seat on the throne of judgment, they're not going to be, you can't be like, hey, look what John did. Or man, it was that woman you gave me. If it wouldn't have been for her, I'd have been able to make it on in here. Or vice versa. It's no excuses then. But he's saying, look, he's back home, so give him the best. Give him the best, man. Don't withhold nothing from him. And bring the fatted calf here and kill it. And let us eat and be merry. Because look what he said. For my son was dead. That's us, man. When we've been dead in sin, man, God couldn't even look at us when we're doing those things. He's like, man, he was dead. He was dead. I couldn't even see him. I can't even look at him when he's going through these things. But he is alive again. He was lost and now he is found. Just imagine, just put that into our situation, man. Most of us in here have kids. Your kid says, all right, look, all right, I'm tired of running with you. Give me my money. But the son didn't. He said he really was saying, give me my money, but he didn't even tell him he was leaving. He probably packed up at night. He wasn't like, hey, Dad, give me my money so I can leave. He didn't say that because Dad went, oh, man, I might not give him his money. But he said, give me my stuff so I can leave. So just imagine one of our kids giving their money. They leave. They didn't have cell phones back then, so you don't know where he's at. He ain't talking to you. He ain't calling you. You don't know what's happening. And then all of a sudden, you thought he was dead. You ain't heard from him. You don't know what's happening. Wouldn't you be excited to see him, or would you be mad? You would be excited to see your family. You would be excited to see your son or daughter when they come back home. And that's the same way God is towards us. When you truly find yourself, after you wander through this wilderness and you say, Lord, I need you. I need you. See, I was lost out there, but I say, man, I see the way these people are living. They're living a good life. So I say, man, even if my father lets me in as a servant, I'm in good shape. See, the servants are taken care of in this kingdom. See, the regular people get benefits in this kingdom. So all I have to do is become a servant and I'm in good shape. That's all he's saying. That's all he's saying, man. Just come on in. Whatever you do, you can be hired in or else you can be a son or a daughter. Which one do you want to be? You pick what you want to be, but they're both going to live good lives. But this is the key, and this is the key right here. And then, so if you found yourself good, and I'll say this, if you find yourself good, but don't forget where you came from. Never forget where you came from. And see, we can't have that better than somebody attitude, because I see a lot of believers doing that. Yeah, you smell like pig before. Yeah, you've had a terrible life before, but you just better be praising God that you're not there no more. But you have to bring people along and still love them where they're at. See, so how do you get them out the pig pen? It's not going to be you that changed their life. It was that aha moment for him, like, man, I'm living like this, and my father and them have all this. I need some of that. I need that. And so this is the key to this guy's success. This was the key to his success. Sincerely asking for forgiveness and being humble. That's going to be everybody key to success, because we can't go and say, well, Lord, at least I didn't do this, or at least I didn't do that. Sincerely ask for forgiveness and be humble, and God could take you wonderful places. He can use that. But man, when you're pride goes before the fall. See, when you're prideful and say, man, look at me, look what I'm doing. Look what God is doing for me. Yeah, everybody knows that. They can see the glory. But if you're not giving it out to nobody else, it doesn't matter what God's doing for you. At least that's what I feel about it. Yeah, God's blessing you. But see, we say things like, man, we're blessed to be a blessing, but I never see anybody being that blessing. See, if God has, and that's what happens with that. And man, everything we get, we think is for us sometimes, but sometimes you're just a conduit to get it to somebody else. And you're never going to get that until you actually find you and be like, all right, Lord, I need you. And so what do you want me to do with this that you blessed me with? Do I need to keep this? Or do I need to distribute this? Where do you want this to be, Heavenly Father? Because I was just like this person one time, man. I was the prodigal son. Hopefully y'all were, y'all have the similar story, but I was a prodigal son before. Living a terrible life. Oh man, a terrible life. And I didn't have no epiphany. Some people can come and say like, hey man, I remember back in June, such and such at 12 o'clock, I got saved. I don't know when I got saved. I don't have a save date. I'm glad y'all got it. Some people get it tattooed on them. I said, what is that? Hey man, that's when I came to know the Lord. I said, oh man, but you do a lot of cussing to know him. But they got a tattoo though. He got a tattoo. So I said, that's good. So maybe you won't forget it. When you're in the shower, you say, all right, Lord, that's the day I came in. But I don't know what day I came in. It wasn't no epiphany like that. Only thing I knew that I had a daughter and I had a wonderful wife. Not at the time. I don't think we were married at the time, were we? I had a wonderful wife or girlfriend that said she was leaving me. That was the epiphany. It wasn't no spiritual awakening or anything like that. It was like, uh-oh. See, it wasn't cool no more to keep coming in at 3 and 4 in the morning. All the coolness went out the window now. It was 2006? Okay. But so maybe I'm going to go get the tattoo. But it wasn't cool no more. Man, I was out there in the wilderness doing foolishness. But I found myself. But one thing I always did, this is what I always told God. I say, Lord, I didn't really have a date when I wanted to be saved or anything like that. Maybe y'all did. But I said, when I come in, I'm in. When I come in, I'm in. I'm not going to flip-flop on you because I say, man, when I was out there in the world, I was going to be good at that. And I was real good at it. Ask my wife, I was so good she wanted to leave. But I told myself, when I come in, I'm in. So I had to find myself. And this has been a continual process because with the things of God, he changes you from glory to glory. See, I found myself. I found that, man, I need to be connected to my Father. But when I'm in my Father's house, he continues to progress me into different things. So when you truly get in, and I was like that too, man, Lord, I need you. I can't lose this. This is my life. This is my life. This is what I live for. So I had to find Christ. And it's been the best decision I ever made. And God has been a great father to me. But just as a father, he brings correction to you. Sometimes it feels like you're in a wilderness experience. And it's just the process that you go through. But he's still a good father. You can still feel his presence in those lonely times. If you call on him, Lord, I need you. I need you, Lord. Because I know you wouldn't have let me find myself at this point if I wasn't going to if you truly weren't going to take me to better things. So the prodigal son has been each and every one of us, man or woman, man or woman. And hopefully you found yourself in that wilderness experience. And so now as God continues to change you to glory, you'll be receptive of what he's trying to teach you, where he's trying to lead you, where he's trying to guide you, and ultimately where he has to take you to. Because he's not done with each and every one of us. We are right on the cusp of great things. Each and every one of us have greatness in us. It's just how far do you want your potential to go? I've been reading a book about potential. And what's so crazy about potential, let me show y'all this. What's so crazy about potential is that You don't know what you got until you reach that potential. Once you reach that arena, you're like, man, I can go further now. I got some more in me. See, when I run the 400, I ran a 400. Okay, cool. But now, what's next? I can run an 800 now. I continue to progress more and more with God, and He continues to let me go deeper once I truly find Him. So if you haven't found Him, find Him. Seek Him with your whole heart, and things will never be the same in our lives. Because I'm going, and all I can say is, man, follow me as I follow Christ, because I believe He has great things in store for each and every one of us.